Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. Sometimes if we are living our lives and we are not giving back and or paying it forward, we're just not doing everything that we can to live our lives into a better way and to a greater degree. And the gentleman that we have with us is doing a lot of that right now. And I would like to welcome Zak Clayton to the show. And you can visit his website, which is called communitypayitforward.us. Zak, welcome to the show. How the heck are you?
Doing good, Kevin. Doing good. A little intimidated by trying to find the greatest me. That
is what's so fun. That is the ongoing and never-ending journey is to find the best me that I can be.
That's also a great thing about a head injury is that sometimes trying to find that great you, it's a different adventure every day. So
that can be. I'm not sure, we probably did, but remind me, you had a head injury.
Yeah, I coming up in on the 14th of this month, it will be 10 years. I was forced off the road on my motorcycle and left in a ditch for over 7 hours.
That's right.
I ended up with a fractured skull, busted up face, and a broken neck, TBI, all kinds of fun stuff.
Well, and when you were, because I asked you last time, what was it like being in a ditch for 7 hours, wondering if anybody was going to come save you? And you said you didn't remember any of it because you were unconscious during the whole time.
Yeah, I was unconscious, and the thing was is that my plans that night were to go camping with a couple girlfriends and a couple cousins and stuff, and so nobody noticed I was missing, right? So the intentions were to go camping, Kevin, but I would have picked a place without the cactus, personally.
Was there cactus in that there ditch?
There was a lot of cactus in that there ditch. There was a lot of cactus, those pointy plants, and hot exhaust. So yeah.
Where did this happen?
Loveland, Colorado.
Now is that high elevation or low?
No, it's Colorado, so yeah, it's all higher elevation, but no, it's on the lower part. It wasn't in the mountains. Really, it was, it was the problem was it was around a blind rock. So, and the ditch was quite a drop off, so nobody saw me.
That had to hurt.
It didn't tickle. It didn't. I've done a lot. I've done a lot of things in my life that were a lot more fun than that.
Now, what did you do? What was the first thing that you remember when you were in the hospital in the emergency room and you woke up? What was the first thing you remember? And did you ask yourself, good Lord, how did I get here?
Well, the first thing, before I even opened my eyes, the first thing I asked my wife at the time and was there, and I said, yeah, you might want to call Mike, who was my boss, and tell him I probably won't be in today. And she goes, well, he knows, he's seen you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And it was already Tuesday, so I had already missed a day and a half. But Kevin, really the first thing that I thought of was, and I'm almost a little embarrassed to say this, but it is true. The first thing that happened when I opened my eyes, and the first thing that I really realized, is that I looked around and there were a lot of people in there, right? And my first thought was not, oh, thank God all these people are here. My first thought was, Imagine if I didn't know anybody in this town. Imagine if I had just moved here and I opened my eyes and nobody was here.
Yeah.
Imagine how scary of a situation that would have been. And, you know, I felt bad because, that it almost makes me sound like I was discounting my friends, but I really started thinking about, what we can do to try to help other people. Of course, you hear that all the time though, and I hear that all the time about with people who try to build nonprofits. It's, immediately after the shock of whatever event, you're like, what can I do to help somebody else never go through this?
Yeah. Well, when you go through life experience and then you have an experience that is life changing, and yours was clearly life changing,
Yeah.
uh, then you decide that, in your case, I imagine there were a couple of things. First of all, when you regained your faculties and stuff, you're going, holy crap, I could have died. And then what have I done in my life to for other people to look back on and say, it's too bad that Zach is gone, but boy, he sure did leave his mark in the world, didn't he? And you know what I mean?
Oh, I did. I cracked that board. I left one heck of a mark. The, yeah. Um, the one thing that I've been blessed with, Kevin, was I got a big mouth. Um, I like to talk, and I like, one of the greatest things that about being a biker in my mind is you get to help people. We spend every weekend raising money for something, for someone, some group, whatever it is, veterans, kids, animals. And I just when I started to feel a little bit more like myself, you know, I immediately kicked into gear on, I tried never really to think about how close I could have come to dying. And I really started trying to come and think about what we can do to help other people, because I knew life was different. You know, I knew there was no way I was going to go back to being a truck driver. My head just wasn't going to allow that. And so I knew I wanted to do something. And my first thought, Kevin, was I was going to get into event planning. I
Okay.
done a lot of events in my life, so I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to get into event planning. And that thought lasted for probably about 15 seconds when I realized I don't like people enough to be planning their events for them. So that probably wouldn't work very well for me. You know, there's nobody in this world that wants a Zak Clayton wedding. Nobody with in their right mind.
Now, why would that be? You seem like a creative young man that how to put stuff together and things like that. Well,
Yeah, very, very creative, and that's what would get me in a lot of trouble, probably.
well, I'm glad that you have decided to do what you're doing. Tell us about the community pay it forward program and what you're doing.
You know, like I said, my first thought was I was going to do the event planning, but the truth of that is that you do an event, it's a one hit thing, and it's done. Maybe it happens every year, but it's done. And it's really hard to do events for uh non for uh people who are not in the nonprofit world. It's really hard to do an event for them because it costs so much money and you really leave them out. And so I went and I talked to some of my dearest friends in the world, which are the small businesses here in Colorado. And a lot of these small businesses were the ones that were there at my bedside, when I went down. I mean, we were close. And well, we are close. I didn't mean we're close. We are close. And my thought was, you know what if we take and I work towards sending people into your store, send people to you, send business to you, because that's what you need to survive. And so we send people in to do business with them. And then when they let them know that Community Pay It Forward sent them, they give me a referral. Kevin, that's the way business is done everywhere, right? I mean,
Yes,
it really
sir.
is. You get me, you get me hired, I'll give you $10. Well, what I decided to do at that point was tell them, oh, but that's not all, because we're also going to ask on the other end, we're going to ask people who need help, hey, first and foremost, what can we do right now? And second off, what we'll do is we'll take in, if you help us send the people into these restaurants, into these leather shops, into these, to get a website built, whatever it is with any of the website builders we've got. If you help us send people to them, we'll give you, starting at 3/4 of that money. So you give us $10, you're going to get $750 to help yourself lift yourself up, to help you as a nonprofit continue to do the good that you're doing. This gives us a chance to take and turn everyday sales into donations for people around the world. It's unlimited on the people we can help. And it not being a nonprofit program, Kevin, we do get to help that neighbor who is new to town and the only people they know are the people at work. We do get to help them people. We get to help the parents whose kids take in and earn a school trip, but cost $3,000. And let's see, do we want to eat for the next 3 months, or do we want to send the kid to the school, the school trip? Well, you want to do both. So let's try to do both, because that child earned that trip. And we really need to start telling our kids, if you earn something like this, we want to see you do it. You worked hard. Let's reward you. And so, let's try to send people into businesses everywhere, turn that business into a referral, and turn that referral into a donation to help you continue to do great things.
So when did you think of this idea? Were you just like thinking about it, like driving down the road or whatever? I mean, this is fairly out of the box thinking. When did you come up with this?
This was really, I like to credit Poker Runs for this. And for those of your listeners who don't know what a poker run is, it's okay. Well, a poker run is where it is an event. It's a fundraising event it's huge in the biker world. Okay. And what you do is you set up 6 places. You set up a place to start, and then everybody jumps on their bike and they run to the first stop, and you get a card at that first stop. You draw a card. Say, your first stop, you draw a king. You ride to the next, you get another card, to where you get the 5 cards. Okay. And then at the end, the one with the best hand wins a prize. Generally part of that money for the entry. And then the rest of the money goes to whoever you were raising money for. Well, I was part of so many of those, and we would go into a place. They're unfortunately no longer in business, but I'd go into a place like Beaver's Den Leathers here in Colorado, and Leanne was such a great friend, and she was like, you know what, take those saddlebags over there. They're worth, $300, and go put them in the silent auction, do whatever you need to do with them. And so we would do that, and we'd get up there and we'd thank them and do all this stuff. Kevin, I would take and go back like a couple days later, midweek, and I'd give her a thank you note or something. Hey, thank you for helping out, Honor Flight or Martyred Angels or whoever it is, thank you for helping us out. And she'd be sitting there literally with tears in her eyes, because she was, I got to write a check for my mortgage, but if we don't have a good weekend, it's not going to clear.
Right.
Well, she just donated a $300 item. She gave it to us, a $300 item. No expectations. She just gave it to us so we can help someone else. Well, Kevin, I started thinking about this and I started realizing it's small businesses that do this. It's all these small businesses that literally give people the last shirt off their rack in order to take and support people in the community who are in trouble. So let's make it worth it for them. Let's send in as many people as we can to do so they can do what they're there for. They can do business. Then they can give us a referral, and that referral becomes that donation. They become a steward of the community because what they're doing is they're turning their sales into help, into hope, and into a chance for so many.
Well, and you're doing even more than that because you're creating community.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of small businesses that, small businesses, bless their hearts, they have an idea, they open up their doors, they do a business plan, whatever they do, and then they try and make a living. And they end up working a million hours.
Yep.
They may even have to sleep there sometimes. Because they don't have enough money to pay for help. So what you're doing is you're bringing people together from all kinds of different places to kind of intermix with each other, and that's good for everybody. That's isn't that what our communities were based on originally? Now we've gotten away from that with like big box stores and the mom and pops are going away and stuff. But isn't that's how it was originally designed to be a community, I think.
Yeah, and the other thing, Kevin, is that how many times have you heard about a great business that you'd never heard of, and you're sitting there going, "God, I wish I would have known about them before I went out to insert big name store here and bought it from there," and talk to the kid that knows nothing about the product,
Right.
instead of going to this small business where they know everything about that product. And if there's a problem with it, they can say, "Look, this is what you got. I've seen this problem before. This is exactly what you got to do. You got to make it work."
Well, it's important because these people who open up these shops and are running a small business, first of all, like 60 or 70%, I'm not sure what the number is, but there are more small businesses out there than there are big box stores and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people, if you are looking for a record, rather than going to the big A and buy it online, go to a record store there or a bookstore or a small boutique and buy your stuff through an individual owner rather than a big corporation, because that will mean so much more to them and it'll keep them in business perhaps, which is really an important thing, because that is Americana at its finest, isn't that?
Yeah, and there's another thing. I live right next to a big name convenience store. I'm a bigger guy. And for me, it's a 2-minute walk. Okay. And for me to walk anywhere 2 minutes, I can barely make it through the yard in 2 minutes. But this store is close. It's really close. But I would rather get in my car and drive to another convenience store that's probably about, maybe 2.5 miles away from me. Because when I walk into that other store, I walk in there and they're, "Hey, Zach, your Devils really took it in the gut last night. Ha ha ha. Yeah, 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 yeah. You look like crap today. Ha ha." There's that kinship with you. It's not, you don't walk into the other convenience store where the kid's sitting there on the cell phone talking to someone else while they're, doing whatever. They're, you just, we're trying to create that by telling each other stories. We want to tell the story of these small businesses. Why did you start this? What was your pain point when you started this? Okay. Why did you get into real estate? What was it about when you bought your first home that you went, "Okay, the experience was good, but if we could have done this, imagine how much better it would have been." We want to
Exactly.
know that, because nobody starts a new business because they had the best experience in the world. They start a business because they want to do something to change it up.
It's interesting. The other day, I had the same experience. I went down a road that I had not. I was on my way home, and I went down a road that I had never gone down before because I just wanted to see, a different way to get home. And there was a store there, and it was Don's grocery store, a little shack of a place and stuff. So I go in there, and they had what I wanted to get, and so I went to the cashier, and it was the owner of the store. It wasn't some kid. It was somebody, and she was like, "Yeah, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I work here all day till 7 at night, and I have one day off." And I was thinking to myself, if people like me did not come in to buy the goods that she had for sale, then she would have worked all that time and might not make enough money to even survive.
Yeah.
And it's more important that we support those people, and because we're supporting people, not
Yeah.
just businesses. We're supporting the people in the businesses. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. Look, there's never been a Walmart that was put down in the middle of nowhere and then a city built around it. Okay. Give Walmart their due. They've taken and they've put a Walmart in a small town, and the town grew around it. But it was never a Walmart that was just put out in the middle of nowhere and a community grew around it. There were small businesses in those towns first. Then comes Walmart. Then comes the growth. Okay. But we can't lose those small towns. We can't lose that community. We can't lose that identity.
That's what it's there for, is,
Mhm.
is the community. By the way, we're talking with Zak Clayton. Go to his website, which is communitypayitforward.us, and
Yep.
find out all about him and everything about him. We need to take a quick break, and my darling friend Holly is going to tell us about something, and then we'll be right back. It'll just be a minute, so stay right where you are.
You're listening to Positive Talk Radio. We're going to take a short break to tell you audio and music creators about our commercial affiliate, Lyric Vids, specializing in creating amazing and engaging lyric videos. Are you looking to promote your videos in the most engaging way, but you don't have an animator and an editor? Whether you're an artist, musician, or business with a message to share, our lyric videos are designed to hook viewers and amplify your reach. Go to positivetalkradio.net/lyric vids. That's positivetalkradio.net/LYRICVIDS now to get started. Welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. We hope you enjoyed learning about our affiliate Lyric Vids, who specialize in creating captivating animated lyric videos. Now let's get back to the show.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And we're talking with Zak Clayton. He is got a website, and he's really is passionate about trying to help community live and grow together a little bit. I have a quick story about that if I can, Zak.
Yeah, please.
I used to work for a chicken company. And the chicken company, they were a vertically integrated chicken processor, which meant that they took the chicken from the egg up until the time that it was put down and created products and 8-piece and 9-piece and chicken nuggets. And don't ever buy chicken nuggets, by the way. And all those kinds of things that you can get, that they can make chickens out of. And the one thing that I learned was that these big companies like a Walmart are so big that they can take the entire, this is how insidious it can be. They can take the entire production of a complete plant over for their particular product that they ship around the country. And so the guy who makes that sale goes home and says, "I got Walmart. We're sold out. Isn't that great?" Well, then the following year, Walmart comes and says, your prices are a little bit higher than we can get someplace else. So you're either going to have to lower your price, or we're going to go someplace else. And then they go someplace else. And now you've got a full chicken plant with people and everybody and no business because you sold it all to Walmart. Or you have to lower your prices in which case you can't give your employees the raise that they deserve and the things that they so the big box thing, it's not really as cool as you might think to be in working with them, because they end up owning you.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And
You know,
that's and
and they dictate your business. They dictate your business plan. They
yes,
really do.
they can do everything they can do anything they want to you, and you are stuck. And unless you go find a bunch of other business, but that's hard to do sometimes. And stuff. So it's better to do smaller. I think that it's better to do business with smaller companies that are members of the community, that are deeply involved with the community, and most of the time that's small business owners.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, plus they're your neighbors. And they're your neighbors, they're your friends. These are people that your kids go to school with. I mean, yes, so are the employees of Walmart, but not the owners. I mean, there's no community tie there. So, and Kevin, the one thing that and again, giving is good. I'll never sit there and tell people that, oh, you gave, but you only gave a little, because none of that matters. Giving is good no matter what you do. But the one thing that we're leaving out of this story is that places like, these bigger stores, what they'll do is they'll ask you to take and round up your change. And this is going to go to some huge nonprofit. And that is another problem, because we've got nonprofits in every town in America that does business in every town in America, trying to make your life better. And they're just going to take and give you some large organization that's out there because everybody's heard of it, and it's all for a tax write-off. Oh, and by the way, you donated your change. They didn't really give anything to it anyway.
It's hard to know, and there are a lot of nonprofits, and some of them are doing absolutely wonderful work. Some of
Yep.
them are not.
Yep.
Some of them are paying for, as an example, if you ever hear on TV a commercial about, I don't know, save the aardvark, because we're running out of aardvarks and we really need to worry about them. And for just $19 a month, you can adopt an aardvark and stuff. Well, the reality is that a lot of that $19 is going to pay for the ad that is running
Yeah.
and stuff. So you're donating $19, but that's not going to your intended aardvark, as an example.
Right. Very, very, very true. But one of the examples is we had a store here in Greeley, where we had a store that asked us to round up the nearest dollar, and I decided not to do it, because this was going to go out of state to a large organization. And one of the organizations that I work closely with, and they unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately because they're no longer there, but they've changed and they merged with someone else. There was an organization called the Avery Center, and the Avery Center dealt with life after human trafficking. They,
Oh,
they,
yeah.
Kevin, they were right next door. And for them not to take that money and walk next door and say, here, do the great work you're doing, it was a little insulting to me. I felt insulted personally, because I was like, wait a minute. Why are we not taking care of these little small nonprofits that, these are people in the nonprofit world who have experienced these issues. I work with people who lost children. I work with people who are veterans who put a gun in their mouth. I work with people who, have lost cancer, so many different things that, and their first thought was, what can I do for others to not run into those walls that I ran into. We need to support them because they don't have that budget that you were talking about. They cannot go and pay for that big name country singer to talk about their product. And, and
Yep.
again, if they're doing good things, God love them, but they need to get their head straight on what they're doing.
Well, and it would be really great if the money that is raised in the community stayed in that community.
Very, very, and you'll never hear me disagree with that. And where my company is nationwide and actually worldwide, we actually try to, we're actually working with 3 schools that are in Africa, because they're schools that are, look, they're feeding the kids, and we need to understand. And I know that one of the first things people are going to say, well, what about our kids here, in America? Hey, guess what? I'll feed kids here in America too. I don't care. But the thing is that, I'm one of those people that I love my kids. Yours, not so much, not all the time. But the truth is that we've got to give every kid a chance, because if we don't, we could be losing the leaders that we need when we get old and frail. So I don't care where the kids are coming from, where the kids are at. We need to give these kids chances.
And you're right. And it's because we are all one human family.
Yep.
We need to take care of each other as best that we can. And if nobody's doing it, then it needs to be done. I admire you. When we come back from this break and this station break, I want to talk to you about how big your organization is. How did it get to be the way it is? And I'm looking at a picture of your lovely, I believe it's your lovely wife and co-CEO, Adriana Clayton. Is that right?
Yeah, Adrian. Yep.
Oh,
thank God. I got the right picture on there.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's the right picture, but it's the right name anyway. So we need to take a break. We'll be right back. More with Mr. Zak Clayton.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And I had to play that commercial. That was in your honor, Zach.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, that somebody's talking, because that's exactly where we were going. Those numbers, Kevin, are just astonishing. We don't realize a lot of times in our everyday lives, and it's impossible to know all the numbers. Believe me when I say this, it's impossible to know the numbers, but the numbers of kids that are trying to get out of a bad situation, but they can't find that story to get them out of that situation, and they end up in that situation or taking their own lives. Having places like the Covenant House, having places like some of these, places that we work with down in Arizona and stuff that get away from drugs and alcohol, having these wonderful places that are there for these kids to where, look, they're going to talk to these kids no matter what, no matter if there's money or not, because they just need to make sure that they're taken care of. We don't understand a lot of times sitting in our houses, even if they're not giant houses, how close we are to this situation.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And in fact, a lot of people will say, "Well, you know what? If they're homeless, they should just go home." There's
Yeah.
a lot of kids who recognize that they cannot go home because it's
Yep.
not safe for them, and so they would rather be on the street than to be in a situation at home, which could be less than. And we, as a society, it said there are four. And there are some even more scary numbers. It's like there are 4 million kids that are either in foster care or they're homeless and they're hungry. Well, 25% of the kids in foster care are the ones who graduate from high school, which means that 75% don't. They're moving from house to house, from family to family. Some are good, some are not so good, and in a lot of cases, they end up spending time incarcerated as an adult
Yep.
later on. It is important for us to realize that especially in some of the states, that they are now eliminating abortion and some of those things, but they're not doing anything. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. Are they doing anything to help the kids that are being created that nobody seems to want? Are people, are organizations stepping up? Is the government stepping up to make sure that these kids that are being created are being taken care of? Or is when they're born, that's it? Well, they're born now. They're on their own. Can you enlighten me on that?
Now, see, here's and look, we're talking about something right here that could get, this could get extremely heated. It really could. But I completely agree with you, Kevin. Here's the thing. Look, I don't like abortion.
I
I
don't
don't
either.
like it. I hate abortion. I hate it. But here's my thing. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. I'm not. That's just not my thing. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do with their own body. But here's my thing about the people who are so staunchly against abortion. How many kids are you fostering right now? Because there are moms and dads that you're telling that no matter what their situation is, maybe they just went out, partied, had a little too many, one too many, maybe a little irresponsible, but they're not able to take care of this kid. This kid's going to end up starving and maybe on drugs and maybe in a bad situation. Well, we don't want to do that. Is that irresponsible? Yeah, it is. Poor choice? You bet. But the thing is, if we're not taking care of the kids that are out there right now, why are we making people make that choice that, they've got to carry through more kids? And again, I loathe abortion. I do not like it. I don't like that choice. But I will never, ever, ever tell anybody that they can't do it.
Right. Well, and the other issue that we all seem to have is that I don't know how this works. So maybe you can help me with this, how it works, because you're in this field a lot. People will say, well, I don't think that we should talk about sex education. That should be in the home. And yet kids don't get the age appropriate sex education that they need so that they know what happens when you insert slot A into thing B and stuff, and you end up not understanding why you get pregnant or how that works, and yet we complain when people are trying to give them the information that they need. Does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Kevin, kids are going to get sex education from somewhere.
Boy, that's for sure. That's for sure.
They're going to get it from somewhere. And if it's not a responsible sex education, it's irresponsible sex education. There's a chance that mom had this child at 15 and mom didn't know anything about sex education.
Right.
So she's not comfortable talking to the child about sex education because she's not sure she understands it yet.
Yeah.
Because you're now talking at a mom who had a baby at 15. She's got a 15-year-old at 30. I didn't look, and I wish I knew as much as now as I did when I was 16. I wish I knew half of what I knew at 16. I was the smartest SOB on the block at 16.
Oh, me too.
Okay, I didn't know a damn thing, but still, I mean, you couldn't tell me that. But
Right.
yeah, look, we had sex education back in our days, and it wasn't, I mean, yeah, of course, there were the look at the picture, but I mean, it was responsible and it was sex education. And there's a lot of divisive things in the country right now. And the stuff with the schools is just really, I think that's one of the things that probably frustrates me the most is, and I say this, my son, my oldest boy, he is, get this combination. He is he teaches kindergarten to children with special needs in Japan.
Oh, wow.
And he teaches them English. And I ask him every time that he's lucky enough that he gets to come home, when are you going to come home? He'll look at me and he'll go, Dad, if I come home, I'm not teaching anymore because the parents in the United States will not let their kids learn. Kevin, he's right.
Yeah.
But his moonlighting job, he's also a professional wrestler. So imagine that one.
Well, you gotta do something to stay in shape, I guess.
Well, you know what? And I'd imagine being with all those kids, you're going to want to beat something up once in a while.
I would think so. The to wrap up this conversation about sex and all that stuff, I think first of all that sex education should be easily available because you're right. They're either going to get it from a reputable source or they're going to get it from a website on their phone that we give them when they're 7 years old or 8 years old or whatever we did.
Or they're going to get it from Billy next door that knows less than, anybody.
That's right. And Billy can be a lousy source of information. And the other thing is that I think that that abortion should be legal, safe, and rare. And our job as a society is to make it as rare as possible. So elective abortions are no longer necessary because people have got the information they need or the equipment that they need to be able to stay safe. And at least that's my humble opinion.
Imagine the beauty of this world if we didn't need abortions other than the medical issue on it. Imagine if we didn't need them because every child was taken care of.
And every child was wanted.
And every child was wanted.
It would be a huge difference. And also we would find that there are underlying costs to everything. And we would find that incarceration levels would go down because kids are getting a positive childhood rather than being shipped from place to place to place and nobody really giving a crap about them. That's how kids get into trouble, is when they don't feel like anybody cares.
Yeah. When you have people that are in, devious situations, drugs, alcohol, trafficking, any of these things. And these people are great actors because that's all they are. They don't give a darn about the kid, but they're able to act around the kid, acting like, hey, I love you. Just remember that I love you. You're mine. You're part of my family. When they're able to do that, and this kid doesn't know what love is because he never got it at home, she never got it at home, they have to learn from somewhere.
And when we talk about trafficking and stuff, that is a major component of trafficking, is kids that run away from home or leave, and then somebody says, hey, come here with us, we are wonderful people and you'll love us and we'll take care of you, and then they get put on the streets.
Kevin, I heard I heard a terrifying story, and moms and dads who are sending your kids to college, please make sure that you check on your kids. But there's times that they will be setting people up at a Walmart, and the kid will be going in first time away from school, parents. This is their first taste of independence, and they have mark makers, which are girls or young men that are walking around, and they'll see a young person with a backpack on their bag, hanging from their back, and they'll say, hey, aren't you in that class? And as humans, we offer too much information. Yeah, I'm in Miss Lewis, Lewis's psychology class. Yeah. I think I'm in the class right before you. Hey, we're having a study group tonight. Do you want to come on over? That person's never seen again. And that happens all the time.
It's a wonderful place we live in sometimes, isn't it? By the way, we're talking with Zak Clayton, and when we come back, because we were going to do this last segment, we're going to talk about this time the reach that you have. That this started from just an idea that you had in your head, and the reach that you have now, and where that reaches going in the future, because people like you, organizations like you, need to grow, need to be as prevalent as we can make them, because you are actually, honest to goodness, helping people with a good heart. And with that, we'll return right after this message.
They have your eyes. They have your ears. They have your smile. Now all they need is a little more of your time. Make a difference in your child's life, because anyone can be a father. It takes time to be a dad.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, and we've got Zak Clayton here. And if you go to his website, which is communitypayitforward.us, and you can learn all about him, the work that they're doing, he's got, I assume that this is your children are also involved in the organization. And so you've got people. How big is the organization, or how big does your dream say it will be someday?
Okay, how big it is now, it's not big enough, but it's big enough to do what we're doing right now. Okay, it's not big enough, but it's big enough to do what we're doing right now, because every person that is part of my organization, Kevin, they have one thing in mind, and that's helping other people. And where do we want to go in the future? I want to vow right now in front of you and everyone, our goal, we hear it all the time, you can't help everyone. Why not? Who's tried? No one's ever tried. They just say we can't help everyone. Why can't we help everyone do something? If it's help somebody find someone to move a couch, why can't we do that? If it's giving away a hoodie that no longer fits me because I quit smoking 16 years ago when I wore an extra large shirt, now I wear an extra large, but I've still got that hoodie in the closet, Why can't I give that to somebody and help someone? We can help everyone, Kevin, and that's what we want to do.
And I will tell you that if there are, years to date that I can figure out, there are over 4,000 religions in the world. Each and every one of them talks about helping the least among us and helping each other, treating each other as you would treat yourself. And that is all that you're talking about doing. If we all did that, Zach, we would have a completely different world that we live in, and we could be there for each other rather than argue with each other and have a measure of hate, division, and fear.
It is so simple because, and I stop my podcast. I end my podcasts saying things like, it doesn't cost money to help people all the time. Say you or your wife, you make too much food, throw it in the old hillbilly Tupperware, zap it in the microwave, give it to somebody in the community who's suffering with hunger. You did something that means more than money. You fed somebody who could be legitimately starving to death. Like I said, the hoodies, there's coats, school drives, all kinds of things that we can do to help people and getting kids involved. We have a program called the Community Cares Dare to Care Cub Club, where what we do is we ask kids to take poster boards, Kevin, and decorate these poster boards. What does caring about people mean? Let them go. Let them have fun. Decorate it however you want. Take 4 of those poster boards, put them on the sides of a box, take them to your local establishments and say, hey, we're trying to help teachers get school supplies. Put those out there. Let the kids know where their boxes are. The kids are going to take grandma and grandpa there. That's right. I'm guilting grandma and grandpa into it. Grandma and grandpa are going to go ahead and put a notebook or pencils or something inside of there. The kids are going to learn a valuable lesson. These kids are going to learn, hey, not only am I helping somebody, didn't cost hardly anything, and wow, I had fun. And then listen to what the kids have to say, parents, because a lot of times we forget that giving does not mean we're giving away money. We did this thing where we gave away hockey tickets, thanks to the Colorado Grit. We gave away hockey tickets when kids answered the question, what can I do to help my neighbor today or someone in my community to get today? We had things like, in which, Kevin, I think that you'll appreciate this one as much as I do. I'm going to follow around old people and pick up stuff that they drop. Hallelujah to this kid, okay? I don't know who grew the ground all the way down there, but that person needs to be beat up because it was not down there near that far years ago. So,
wait, no kidding.
Yeah, so pray for people. Listen to the kids ask them these questions just to brighten your own day.
And if somebody wants to contact you, how do they do it, young man?
They can give me a text or a call at 970-909-0751. That's 970-909-0751.
And your podcast, what's the name of it and how do they find it?
I got a couple of them. I've got one called Footprints Forward that talks about mental health issues and suicide ideation and how we deal with this problem. That's Mondays. Actually, it's I hate to say this, but I'm gonna have to change my podcast time because we're competing right now. But that's Mondays. And then on Wednesdays, we have what's called Community Impact, where we talk to small business and small organizations. You do not have to be part of my program to be on our podcast. And then every February 22nd, we do a 22-hour podcast dedicated to our veterans. I am not a veteran. I didn't want to cut my hair and I didn't want to get yelled at, so I got married instead.
And so you got both.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Nah, I pulled out my hair. I didn't cut it.
So anyway, we've been talking with Zak Clayton. He's doing work. He's trying to help the world. And I admire you You're welcome back on this particular program anytime. And my other program, which is brand new and old, and it's called My Independence Report. And it's about declaring our independence from hate, division, and fear. And so I would love to have you on that one and to talk more in depth about things like suicide and preventing folks from choosing the ultimate thing that nobody should do, because they're too valuable. We need everybody here.
Yeah.
And we need everybody well. And go to his website, communitypayitforward.us. Zach, thank you so much for being on the show. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
When it comes to suicide, I'd just like to bring up one thing. Okay, if you've got somebody who is struggling, the best thing you can do is shut your mouth and open your ears. Listen, but make sure you do not leave the situation untaken care of. Even if you are not a person who can handle their problem, make sure that you go through the steps to find somebody who can help them out. Because if you tell them, I'll be back to check on you tomorrow, you may come back to something you don't want to see.
And that is so true. And by the way, if you are that person that is feeling that way, that you don't feel like there is a tomorrow, there's a number I want you to call. Really easy. 988.
Yep.
Call that number. It's a crisis hotline, and somebody will take you and they will help you get the help that you need. So please do that. That number again is 988. Zach is the Zach. Zach, I've got to go, but thank you so much for being here, and you're going to have to come back.
Hey, thank you, Kevin. I'm here whenever you need me, brother.
Take care, my friends, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got.